These two are interesting.
Okay.
Okay, should be up and recording, and so all right.
You want to start, Trish?
Yeah, except I want to talk to them too. I mean, I am so sorry that this thing got pushed back, but I'm glad we finally got to do this.
It's always perfect. It's always the
Okay.
right time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. How do we pronounce your name? We were discussing that. Is it Mieke? Is that right?
Mieke.
Mieke. See, I told you, Rob.
Okay, Mieke. All right.
And and Paul's name is easy. Paul.
I took it easy
Paul
one.
and Mieke.
Okay. All right. If
All right.
if everybody's ready, we'll start in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Trish McGregor and
Rob McGregor.
And our tech magician, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and we can find out about our books. Among them are Phenomena, Harnessing Your Psychic Abilities, The Secret of Spirit Communication, Sensing the Future, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our most recent book is The Shift, Reports from the Mystical Underground. Trish's latest novel is White Crows, and Rob's 7th Indiana Jones novel, The Staff of Kings. Okay, Rob, take it away.
All right. We met Mieke and Paul Benton on a Caribbean cruise earlier this year. Is the author of My Life is a Mystery, which is co-authored with Paul, about her many mystical experiences and alien encounters. Both Mieke and Paul have spent decades exploring alternate healing, geomancy, UFO investigations, interdimensional realities, and more. Mieke grew up in Belgium and worked as a social worker. Paul is from Hood River, Oregon, where I've been windsurfing in past years, and was a dentist who left his profession as a result of a benevolent ET encounter, which we can ask about. The story of how they met and overcame both geographic distance and their age difference is a fascinating story. And I think we'd like to talk about that to start out. Welcome, Paul and Mieke.
Hey.
Thank you, Rob. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Trish.
Okay, tell us how you
Thank you,
met.
Trish.
How we met. Well, we'll try to do this short. So I'm from Belgium. We met when I was 27 in an alternative healing retreat in Oregon. I was doing alternative healing in Belgium, and Paul was doing the same thing in Oregon. And his teacher in Oregon is a Belgian, and they decided to do a joint retreat in Oregon in the hot springs.
With Belgians, 30 Belgians, and about 30 of a people in our school, which is a practical school of wisdom and compassion. That was our mystery school.
Yeah,
cool.
We were both
Nice
not looking for a relationship. That was very clear for our reasons. I had several long-term relationships, and I needed to learn to be by myself, and that was clear. So I was there for my own internal connection to self and inner development. So I was definitely not open to any relationship.
That worked,
I was just out of a hard child custody case, which I did win, but it followed, of course, a divorce, which was not a happy situation. So I was all healing from those situations, and so I was not looking for a relationship. I kind of swore off any more relationships. It's like, boy, I don't want to go there again. And so that's where we started this.
And he was too busy raising his 3 small kids at the time. So that was where his focus went. He was single dad and 3 jobs, 3 small kids, full-time custody. So that's where his focus was.
3 jobs, 1 for each kid.
Kind of, yes.
So when you got married, Mieke, you suddenly became a mother of 3 children, young children.
Yeah, I jumped cultures for all of a sudden from being a young single person. I was married with 3 small kids, another culture. I had nobody from family or friends around me. I was the only one. It was a pretty jump off the cliff, but
very brave, very brave.
Meant to be.
So, and you lived in Hood River for a while, I think, didn't you?
A short time, yes. That was my home. That's where I was born and raised.
Right.
And,
we love Hood River.
We had a little house there that we were renting from one of my relatives. And so when we got together, that's where we decided to land. That was basically the only choice we really had.
Now, did you ever live in Belgium, Paul,
I have never lived in Belgium, and I had never visited Europe before we met.
You were married there, though, weren't you, in Belgium?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I thought, gosh, I'm jumping to the other side of the world. Nobody knows Paul. They've never seen him. So I'm saying bye to everyone. I might as well show him to my family. And Paul's teacher, who's a Belgian, said, it's better to marry in Belgium because the paperwork goes faster and blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, I better show my parents who I'm getting married to, right? So we decided to marry in Belgium.
Yeah. Paul, how old are your children now? They were young when I read the book, and they were very young then. How about now?
So what, 28, 31, and 33?
Wow,
Oh,
they're
okay.
out on their own. Right?
They are. They are out.
Okay. That's why
Now,
you can
do they
traveling.
now do they speak any languages as a result of your influence,
I
Mieke?
tried when they were young. I taught them some Dutch, and I speak several languages. So I tried. Our daughter was the one who was most interested, and in high school she learned some French, and she was most focused. And now they're saying, "I wish you pushed harder," but you can't
Yeah.
force that. At least
No.
they had a sense of what languages are about. Of course, with English, most my family and friends they speak English, so you can go away. But it's great to have two cultures come together and learn from each other languages. It's a good thing to have.
And
Huh.
we made several trips with all of the kids to Europe and to Belgium, and traveled around through France and Germany and
Oh, great.
Netherlands. I mean, just to acquaint them with two things: travel, and then
Uh-huh.
also different languages, different cultures.
And we moved to Maui for a year, so they had some
Oh, that's
cultural.
nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, good. So they had a good childhood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is sometime after you met, I understand that you realized that both of you had ET encounters and some unusual experiences. Can we go into a bit about that? Mieke, you had encounters as early as age 2.5.
That I recall. Now I think it's a lifelong contract, soul contract. So
Yeah.
I think it goes beyond before that, but I do have conscious recollection by that time, and then it was confirmed afterwards too that yeah. So I had alien abduction experiences from age 2.5 that I recall in my hometown Deense in Belgium. And do you want me to share about
Yeah.
those?
Do you
Yeah, sure.
recall it, right?
What I recall, okay. So I remember being taken. So I go to bed at night. I remember being taken into a completely foreign environment. Nothing of my worldly uh, experience was resembled there. So I do remember laying down like on what it's called, like it's like a cold metal, like a surgery bed or something.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
Mhm.
completely laying down naked. I am terrified to the bone for two reasons. I can't move out of
Oh,
my
awful.
own fear and terror, but I also know now because of technologies they use to paralyze you. So I had no control over anything. I only had my consciousness in that body that was completely frozen. And I'm laying down naked on this cold bed. It's very cold and uncomfortable, and I can only experience what I saw from my vision above me,
Uh-huh.
which was three what I call now premantis. Okay, I don't have proof. It's the
Right.
most resemblance to what I know from creatures here. Um, premantis looking like creatures. Two of them were like the main ones. So I'm sharing with you as I look above me, and I see their face, triangle face. I see their upper limbs, where were moving very choppy, with claws
And sharp, sharp
and
pointed.
sharp
Ooh.
pointing claws. And two of them were the main ones, and then there was a third one who was assisting or something. And they looked and felt like doctors or surgeons.
Did they
And they
communicate
were
with you in any way?
I was so in fear. I do
Yeah.
not recall any communication except my own terror. um they were probing in my body with their claws.
Ooh.
So
That couldn't feel good.
no, well, I was terror. I don't know yeah, like I said, I was paralyzed. So, and they were moving above me. They were observing me. They were probing in my body, in my belly area. And that's all I remembered. I also remember there were some smaller beings on the floor, but I couldn't see it because it was lower than the table I was laying on. And I only remember from my vision, lower, smaller beings moving around, shoveling around, but I don't have
Visual.
information about that.
Hmm.
And then the next, so they were doing with my body. Then and nothing was, there was very sterile place, very plain, just the cold table and those beings that I recall. And then I remember being back in my home environment, with the same terror, with the memories, with the whole recollection of it. Sometimes I was turned around in my bed that I remember, so I was coming back in a different way than I was left. And
were you
then,
wearing pajamas or clothes by then when they took you back?
I don't recall at this time.
I asked because we've heard that sometimes you're naked when you go up, and then when you come back, you've got your pajamas on and the shirt's inside out, or some weird
or
thing.
somebody else's clothes.
Or somebody else's clothes.
I don't have any recollection of that. What I do recall then is, with my small little mind, I had to come up with a strategy because I was coming out to something that I had no understanding what I was coming out of. And I came up with 3 solutions with my little mind, and I sometimes chose different things. I decided, okay, I'm brave enough to walk to my mom's bedroom, my parents' bedroom, who was on the other side of the hallway, a very dark hallway with all kinds of entities and stuff, because I was very sensitive and knew there was stuff out there. Am I brave enough to brave this whole dark hallway with whatever's hanging there? To get to the room and climb in their bed? Sometimes I did. Okay. If I didn't dare to do that in that moment, and because I had more than one experience, then the second option I came up with was, I'm going to scream, hopefully loud enough so they hear me, to come to my room. Sometimes that worked. Sometimes I screamed and no sound came out. And then a third method I sometimes use was to think very loud. It's like distracting with my own thoughts in the hope I'm going to fall asleep. Like I don't want to think about what I just got. But if I think very loud in my head and, make some noise, maybe I will fall asleep and that will be over. But that I didn't really dare all the time, because sometimes I knew I could go straight back to it.
Right.
So I wanted to have some solution where a parent was involved. And the trauma was, okay, I had the experience that was, sounds traumatic, which it felt traumatic, but the deepest soul trauma was for me then when my parents came. They said, oh, it's over now. It was just a dream. They had no idea what I went through, which I understand now. How could they? Right? But for me, I carried this my whole life, that I had experiences that were not recognized. They were not acknowledged. My little Mieke inside of me was never validated for the value of the truth of the experience, and I carried that separation inside of me between my experience and my outside world, and there was no link in between, because I could not express what I experienced. Now, my dad was observant. He was trying to do the good. He was really trying to figure out, why does she has those nightmares, as they call them. And when I got my bedroom at 2 years old, they put wallpaper in with what's it in English?
Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah, okay.
So I had that on my wallpaper, all these pictures that repeated itself. And my dad, I remember him asking me, but I also remember I was too young to explain to him. So he says, what are you so scared from? Are you scared from the wolf?
Little Red Riding Hood, yeah.
He thought that was giving me nightmares. But I was thinking in my little mind, oh my God, those creatures that just encountered are the little wolf on that wallpaper. I mean, not to compare with this real life experience I had, but I was too small, I couldn't repeat. And he changed my wallpaper. They changed the wallpaper thinking that might be the reason. So he was really trying hard to figure out what was going on with me. Anyway.
some of these experiences that people have are multi-generational. Is there any indication of your parents having any experience like that?
Well, I asked them, and I mean, my dad was deceased after I asked my mom. I asked my family members. They don't recall. My brother does have memories that tells me yes. My brother's pretty much in the spiritual realm where we are, but he's autistic and he has, you know, a lot of
Slightly
fears. Yeah,
autistic.
there's a lot of fears. So in my feeling, yes, it is a generational thing. My grandfather was also looking into the universe and astronomy, so I say yes, but I don't have from them confirmation too much. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what about you, Paul? You had this benevolent encounter. So what was that?
Well, my first benevolent encounter was a friend and myself were up in the hills and up in the mountains near Mount Hood. And we were just sitting there and we were just watching out, and it was dark. And this light comes across this ridge, and we were commenting to each other, "What's a strange place for for an airplane?" Let me get my fingers up here where you can see. I don't know where I am. So they was coming across from right to left, and very slowly. But it wasn't like the flashing lights that usually airplanes have. It was just a slow, solid light, and then it did this took off in a flash, straight up, a 90-degree turn, and disappeared in a flash. And we're looking at each other and we're going, well, that's not from around here. That was our comment, but we didn't know much about ETs at that time or UFOs. But that was definitely something that was unusual. So that was when I was like, what, 19? Somewhere around there.
79, you said.
Yeah, 1979, so about 19. And then the one that got me, the one that really changed my whole career direction, I was a practicing dentist, just a few years into practice. And one day one afternoon, I had a horrible headache, and I didn't get headaches. So I thought, well, let me just send the staff home, lock up the office, and I'll lie down in my chair and see if I can get rid of this headache. So I lie down in the chair, and I'm kind of halfway dozing off, and then all of a sudden notice that there are two other beings in the room with me. They're standing behind me.
Jeez.
And it was like, and my first thoughts were like, what are you doing here? Which I think I uttered that to them. And they communicated to me. Now, I don't know if this was in English or telepathically. I don't know, but it felt very real. And they said, well, we noticed you have a headache. And I thought that was pretty amazing. So that kind of eased my fear of what was going on, like they weren't going to take me or whatever. And so I said, yes, I have a very, very bad headache. And at that point, they produced like a wand or a rod that was about 18 inches. Where am I? Am I in the deal? About 18 inches long and about an inch or inch and a half in diameter. And it had some little like knobs or adjustment things on it. And they're behind me, and all I do is get a side of this from the side, and they wave this thing over my head, back and forth. And they says, well, the reason you have a headache is because you have a brain tumor. And
wow.
That's just great news for me, right? I'm going, so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just just starting to break even in my practice, and now I have a brain tumor. That's not good. And they again conveyed to me, said, well, not to worry. And they did something to this device, and then they waved it back over my head about 3 times, and the pain went away. And they said, there, it's gone. Well, being in the medical field, I was astonished and amazed by this, whatever the heck this was. And so I said, well, that's amazing. Where can I get one of those? thinking
what store?
If you can get rid of a brain tumor in a matter of 30 seconds, how useful would that be on this planet? Or just people that I knew that were dealing with different deals. And they said, well, we'll send you one.
Wow.
And so I said, great, where do you live? Well, I'm on the 2nd floor of a 2-story building with nothing above but skylights and the sky, night sky, and they point straight up.
Oh, boy.
So I'm going like, okay, so you're not local. So I thought I could maybe drive to where they were, and pick up this device. So no, and then they disappear, they're gone. And I'm in this dark office. the doors are still locked, the windows are still closed. The only lights coming
Wow.
into the office was from street lights, because I was on the main street in Hood River, small town, but still there was a little bit of light coming in, and they're gone. And so they disappeared the same way they showed up, evidently. And I was just like in awe. And I thought, so I'm thinking, what could this be? What could this be? And I realized, well, maybe it was something to do with frequency, something, because they could read it and then they could adjust or something. And so I changed my whole career path. I went to computer school to study programming and operations of computers in San Francisco. And that's very early on. That's the early 80s. So there wasn't a whole lot going on, but I could do that. So I changed my whole career based on, like, I got to figure out what this is. And if it's as great as I think it is, we could certainly use it with all the elements.
Did you ever see them?
Pardon me?
Did you ever see them? What they look
like?
Well,
they were behind me. I did not get, honestly, Trish, I did not get a good look at them. I wish I had spent more time at that. I was more interested in this wand.
Right, in the wand. I want one of those.
I want one of those. Where can I get one? Anyway, so I checked the, UPS and mail and everything for years, and
which is a joke, but
it's kind of a joke. But it didn't show up. I mean, I kind of let go of that. I was doing my own research and into medical applications of computers, and great things were happening, of course, in the 80s and 90s. All the different types of they could do imaging in different ways and ways of treating certain diseases. They could use lasers and different things. Anyway, so I was following that track, and so at that point I didn't know it. Recently, however, I've been informed that the technology is on the planet. We do have this technology, and it is being sequestered by certain groups of people. It's not open to the general public. But the group that I'm associated with, Connecting Consciousness, one of the founders of that, Simon Parks, mentioned in one of his talks that he was giving to our group that we now have these healing wands. So that's why I call it a healing wand. And so I'm like, what? So I figured they did get sent to us. Somebody got them, and now that they're actually available on the planet, which was amazing. I believe this is like the medbed technology that is coming into the forefront now. Medbed. These are you see like on Star Trek or what is the other one?
Stargate,
Star Trek. Those movies have
that technology
that
in it.
seem to show that technology in it. So it's like, okay.
It will be available soon, I think, but when, we don't know. But it does exist. That's what we know.
Jeez.
For sure.
So that was of course, that was a long time between when I first experienced that and when they're coming out. But fine, if it comes out now, it's better than never. So.
And you never, I mean, you haven't had these headaches again or any. And wow.
No headaches.
That's pretty incredible.
Right. So again, though, Trish, I had no proof that I had a tumor of any kind, other than just an excruciating headache, which I never had before and haven't had since.
Well, it's good that whatever it was, they took it away. I mean,
that was it. That was my feeling exactly, Trish. It's like, whatever it was, I'm glad they did that. But it did change my whole career path.
Do you find it easier now to talk about these type of experiences than in the past? Do people seem more open to you, to willingness to listen?
Very much so. Actually, we had I met Travis Walton, who was the subject of Fire in the Sky, and we went to a film festival in Sonoma, which was in California, where we were living at the time. And we got to meet him. We like to meet people so we can see who's here, who's real, who's full of it, and figure out from that situation. So we met Travis Walton at this film festival, and he's very real and incredibly wonderful man, very strong heart, but he's very quiet, mostly very quiet, and so he doesn't get out there. He is way more now, but of course, Fire in the Sky came out in like 89 or something. I think.
And I had never met anybody talking about abduction experiences till I heard Travis' story. I'm like,
oh, really?
What?
His story is really something.
Not that it's the same our experience, but it was the first person that I heard talk about it. I'm like, whoa, and he's going to be in our neighborhood. I need to feel this guy. I mean, I need to see him and
Yeah.
feel him. And how does he talk about it? And I mean, I was curious about it. How do you talk about those things, right? So we met him, and since then we kind of gave ourselves permission to start with friends,
Right.
share, and the more and then we went to some experiences groups. I was very uncomfortable in the beginning talking about it. But the reason why Paul and I start talking about it, because we didn't know we had each our experiences. But
Right.
after we got married,
Shortly after we got married.
a few months after, so I was, just married, kids, another culture, and I had those moments that it was so overwhelming that I was like, I was in a battle with myself because of all the shifts I was making. And one day I was like, I couldn't handle myself. I was in a pissy mood, but I don't want to throw that on them because I know it's
Yeah.
my internal process, right? I didn't want to throw my fit on Paul or the kids. I knew I need to work through something. So I said, Paul, I'm going to go outside, sit at a tree. I needed some connection with nature to find some grounding. He says, okay.
So this
But
is
at this point, he didn't know.
No.
Oh, okay. That's
No. We
interesting.
did not know
didn't-
from each other we had experiences at
We
all.
were just in this early relationship, and
Yeah.
first thing you say is,
Right.
"Hey, I got these ET experiences." You don't want to get thrown out that
Well,
early.
And also
Yeah,
those
right.
memories were buried too, because if there's no way to talk about it, you don't bring them up, so they go
Right.
in the background of your consciousness, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at this tree, just trying to come with some grips with my own internal discomfort, and all of a sudden I see in the sky a red fiery ball flying in front of me from the upper left all the way down to on the ground somewhere behind the trees in the distance. It just shocked me.
Wow.
So
Talk
I
about a
was,
sign.
Yes.
yeah,
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I was like from this, like, I need some help. What I'm at. There it was. And I was hardly daring to go inside. So, but I just braved myself, and I'm like, ah. So I run inside, Paul, 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 and I tell him what I just saw.
And I'm trying to comfort her because I had seen this thing a long time before. I said, "It's okay, Mieke.
Oh.
It's all right. It's it is what it is. But you're safe now, and you're okay." So
He went outside to see if he could find
and then I
it.
went outside to see if I could see the remnants
Right.
of it. Didn't see anything.
But that was the initial experience where it started the conversation between
Uh-huh.
us, because then as we just talked about that, then he said what he experienced, then my memories like, oh yeah, and so the whole packet came back into our awareness.
Wow.
And we started talking between the two of us,
Just between us, though. We didn't
just the
share
two of us.
outside.
Yeah.
For
And
like
then
10,
yeah
10 or 20 years before we actually, 15,
Oh,
probably
wow.
15 years,
Right.
Trish, before we actually
Right.
came out with that.
And
Was it a
then
shock to you, Paul?
That she
Hearing
had
this-
experiences? Well, when she relayed what her experiences were, it was kind of like, oh no, really?
Yeah.
Because mine was very, very benevolent.
Right.
So I considered, well, whatever these are they're just here.
Huh.
Like the deer in the woods, they're not going to cause any harm.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, but when she expressed her experiences, then it was like a little bit more like, okay, there are different experiences.
Different
for
species.
Sure.
yeah
Maybe different. I didn't know, but we learned a lot later that.
and after we married, and life goes on, I had several more UFO sightings that I also wrote in the book about.
Mhm.
So it keeps going, right? This is not just a one occurring event. It is a lifelong synchronicities and events. And I mean, like I said, the name of the book, My Life is a Mystery, because all
Right.
these things happen as they occur. You think it's a separate thing,
But
but
it's
if
not.
you back up in your
It's all
life,
connected.
it's not. It's all
A
connected.
lot is connected, yes.
Yeah. That's true.
What do
Huh.
you think they are interested in with you, both of you? What these encounters are about?
Rob, my sense was that they were trying to share some technology with the planet. How do you do that? How do you introduce technology to a species that is not really there yet? As
Mhm.
I figure that they're I don't know, thousands of years, maybe millions of years ahead of us in their technology. How would you do that to a group of, you have to find first somebody willing or open enough to, that was my thought. Well,
Yeah.
here I am in the medical field and I'm open. I'd already had experiences. So I wasn't freaked out when this thing occurred to me. I was a bit surprised, but not freaked out. So
Now, what had happened to you before this? You
I
said
had
you'd
seen
had.
one up in the mountains. I saw this light come across.
Oh, that okay.
So that was it. It's just like, okay, something's here,
Uh-huh.
and it didn't seem to be harmful. And I realized that there's nothing in the news,
Right.
except they don't exist. They never have.
Yeah.
They never will.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah blah blah. We're
Well,
the
yeah,
only
right.
species in the universe, and it's like, so I was pretty clear from that time that we were being not told the truth. I'll put it that way. That there's all this information was being hidden, and I was very fortunate to have experience to show me otherwise.
Yeah.
And especially with my scientific background, I could at least grapple with what are the implications of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Huh. Interesting. Well, Mieke, you came from kind of an unusual family. You're I found that one part where you're talking about your father's sister was born without eyeballs. How strange is that?
Well, I always wondered, why am I born in a family with so many disabilities? Mostly eye problems. So, and there's only a few people in the world I heard, I don't know, I don't have any statistics or I don't know the truth about that, but with no eyeballs at all. Then my dad had one eye, a little ball, so not completely developed. And his other eye was not good as either, so he was almost blind his whole life. His mom, same thing, one eye, smallly developed, and then my father's sister, no eyeballs. Then my grandmother, who has one little small eyeball, her brother, his son also is blind, and they are like musically savants. They stay at a 5-year-old or a kid's mentality, but they have those physical disabilities. And I'm like,
Tell a little story about when you were first born and your father take you out.
Well, yeah, because of that, well, then the other thing, my mom and dad are nephew and niece, and also my grandparents. I mean, it's like this whole
genetic. Oh, that's interesting.
Why is this genetic thing happening? Why? And then when I was born, I was the firstborn. My mom had 2 miscarriages before me, which I think I might have something to do with that too. You try to come in several times to get adjusted to the frequency here. So when I was born, I was the firstborn after 2 miscarriages. The first thing my dad was early in the morning was bring me to the light,
to the window,
as a little baby, right? And my mom says, and he started shouting, "She can see, she can see." And my mom says, "How in the hell do you know that?" Right? And then my dad said, "Because she's blinking her eyes when he exposed me to the light." Right? So that's it was important for them because they had all these family traits, right? Anyway, so I always wondered, why is that? Now, you want me to share about my grandmother's experience?
Yeah, the thing about the bird's head. That was really weird.
It was very weird.
It is. Again, so because my dad's sister had no eyeballs and was mentally also, stayed at age 5 about, and she had her first menstruation at age 7, I think. 7 or 8. I mean, just interesting physical abnormalities. And so she was a lot of the time in institutions in the week, and then in the weekend, sometimes she came home. And so when I was a kid, and I don't know what age I was when she started telling me that, probably when I was like 8 or 9, where I could start comprehending things.
Your grandmother, not your sister.
Yeah, my grandmother. Did I say sister?
Well, you're talking about your aunt.
Oh, yeah. So my grandmother, the mother of my disabled aunt, she confided to me, and she always shared that with me like in a more softer voice, that she went to those institutions, and because of the connections she had, she had some connections, she was let into like a secret part of this institution. There was a part where they kept
the unspeakable
from
things
the public. and she was let in there. And she told me, she said that she saw something very weird. And she said she saw a human body with a bird's head.
Oy.
And I just listened. I
That's
mean, you know, the
yeah.
adult
What do you
tells you
say?
that's
Yeah.
what they experience. And I didn't say that wasn't true. I was just very intrigued by it. I remember every time she shared it with me, I don't know, a handful of times, a few times during my life, always, you know, like she trusted me to share her experience. And I just listened. I didn't respond much. And I'm like, huh, interesting. Yeah, human. I mean, I was trying to visualize that. And then one time I said, so why do you think it was a bird's head? I mean, why do you
Yeah.
say that? Why do you think? And then her answer was, and it was the only thing we talked about that, she says, because it had a beak.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Damn.
okay. So we
Right,
never
there's-
really went more into that. I just remember she sharing me that a few times, that she was let into that special section. Now I
Huh.
know, I mean, after all these years, they do experiments with, you know, genetics, with species intermingling. I mean, it's that whole story, I think, E.T. story too, about mixing genetics, and now they have this whole cloning thing going on. I mean, who knows what they're doing? But for
Well,
me,
what
that was
the,
proof.
what kind of institution was this? I mean, was this it
It
was
was
a mental
just
institution?
institution with disabled
For
people.
disabled
Because I
people.
remember as a kid, I go in there and there's always this handicapped people. Oh, they come at you. I mean, I was used and exposed to that weird behavior. And then as a teenager, I mean, I went to college to work in special education because I mean, I was born into it. I was born into a family with all these abnormalities, you know, as well mentally
Physical
as
stuff.
physical stuff.
Yeah.
So I was exposed as a very young age to handle all those weird people coming to you with all these behaviors and abnormalities. So
I think it's interesting that in mythology, we do have creatures that are human with birds' heads. In Egyptian mythology in particular,
exactly.
we see these creatures, and I always wondered whether they actually existed at one time, or that it was possible to create such beings, and that they were at one point they were, you know, blocked or banished. It's kind of interesting.
It's a great question, Rob. So we'll,
Yeah.
And I think they,
we wondered about that too. but
yeah,
go ahead.
and to me they do exist. If you say why RTs are here, I think we're part of the story. I think we're part of the creators. We think we are in this human part. You know, this is who I am. But I think this is just a very small fraction of who I am. I have other parts of me in other dimensions. I recall flying spaceships myself on 2 occasions. So I experience, like, I have my personality here with all the conditioning of this life. I have other parts in other realities, and I believe I am part of this larger picture of humanity and beyond, where we designed everything together. So I think those beings exist. I remember, and as a teenager, my brother is an artist. He's autistic and an artist. He made a beautiful picture of what was it? A horse body with a other creature's head. Very nicely done.
But mythology, there's
Yeah.
lots of that.
And I think those abduction experience had to do also with, or not only, had to do with shifting DNA and, you know, twisting things and seeding more consciousness or whatever. But I think I am part of this larger experiment, not only as the experiencer, but also as the designer of it. I think we're all of it.
Interesting.
I don't see me as a victim of it, even if it felt very terrifying. I think I've been all parts.
So
So
now you had, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, you said you had flown these crafts a couple of times. We had another guest that had made the same comments a couple months ago. Yeah, and she also said she went to Jupiter with his craft, and in your book you say the same thing, right?
Yeah, that was
very
my
interesting.
that was my experience. Yeah, I remember flying. I had a person with me, was like an assistant. We were on a mission. our own craft. And I remember looking through the window, and Jupiter was hanging there tilted in this pitch black sky. It was beautiful,
Wow.
powerful, and very impressive. And I was observing Jupiter, and I was logging everything. You know, I was observing, and I was very much professionally knowing what I was doing, very
Huh.
confident in my job. And yeah, that was one of the experiences I had.
Well, this other one, this Dolly that he's referring to, she Preston Dennett, who's probably written more UFO books than anybody else on the planet, wrote one of his books is called Symmetry, and it's about her story. She, like you, was an abductee from the time she was really small and was taught how to fly these crafts. Now she claims that ETs have left our galaxy because basically Earth is doomed, you know, in terms of climate change and shortages and et cetera, et cetera. And that so now she moved across the country, and both she and Preston are living in the mountains in Georgia and have a greenhouse where they're growing their own food because they believe that there are going to be vast shortages of food. That's going to be really bad, in other words. You know, it's going to be like 8 or 10 years of survival. So, I mean,
We
I
have
don't have that. I
thank
don't
God.
see it.
It's good to know.
I don't see
No,
it
I
that
don't
way.
see it that way.
My outlook is incredibly positive. I see from this point on, we're just expanding. We are leaving behind this fear-based victimhood consciousness.
That's good.
We're expanding beyond this duality of good and bad and fearful, and we are moving into an awareness where we embrace all of the things we have lived, and we are going beyond that, which is an abundant consciousness. It is where everybody is accepted for who they are. The battles are gone. So and it's already here.
Not in Florida. That's why I was warning you guys about not moving to Florida. I mean, I'd love to have you in Florida, but
I have no fear. I know I am guided.
I know, that's good.
I am guided where I'm supposed to be. I have no I supposed to be dead several times. I know I choose my own timing. So I have more stuff to do, and if my time is ready, we'll be clear and I will be gone. So, but what the expansion going on is so incredible. The shift I feel, we just went to Belgium for 6 weeks. The shift that already happened is, I mean, in the last few years, it's very positive in my experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, overall, I think it is. I agree. I mean, especially, you know, these congressional hearings about UFOs, even though I don't think they're coming clean about everything, it's interesting that they're certainly more open, you know, it's like, yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, more lies, but at least they're trying, you know, which you got to give them credit for.
But it's always, they're only talking about the crafts. They never say.
Yeah, right. They don't talk about the beings.
What's inside?
Well, I always want to add something to this, because everything can be used for the good or the bad in this duality where we're still in it. So I always I want to tell people, yes, it's great that they come out with it and they share, but use your own bullshit detector, which is your solar plexus, and feel. If you see anything with your 5 senses, just don't use your only senses. Go to your inner feeling, and if they project something in the sky or whatever, what's your feeling? Do you only see it with your eyes? If it's only with your eyes, it's most likely man-made or reverse technology. But if you have an intuitive connection with what you see, then there's more to it.
Yeah, Rob and I had an experience one night. We were coming back from the town of Jupiter, which I thought was kind of an interesting. And we saw this very strange thing in the sky. So we followed it, and we pulled into this parking lot, and there's this other guy in there going, "You don't believe what I saw." He's talking on the phone to his wife or his girlfriend. He goes, "I saw a UFO, and it's up here." I mean, the guy was almost hysterical. Rob and I are going, okay, so we followed the right thing. I mean, we still don't know what that was. I mean, I think it was a UFO, but
well, it wasn't one. It was like seven
or eight of them,
and they were red.
And,
we watched them for quite a while.
Right.
Well, so this guy was screaming at his wife.
So it's great that it's coming out. It has to be. It has to come out. but also it can be used to freak out more people, to keep them in fear. And if the agenda sounds it's induced with the seed of fear, then just I would
Right.
say stay away from it. Just let it for what it is, because the real story is, to me, a positive one, and not one to add more fear to it.
Mm-hmm. I
One of
agree.
the things when we went to Egypt, one of the things that I was looking for was signs of pre-Egyptian civilization or life,
Right.
or alien encounters. And one of the things that's prominent is let's see if I can get this up here,
Oh, wow.
Hathors. And I only found one of these, but it's the cow, they call them the cow head with the funny ears.
Uh-huh.
And those are many places in Egypt. However, most of them are destroyed. They are destroyed physically.
What's that made of? Jade?
No, this is made of some kind of stone. I think
some
it's
kind of
A
stone.
native stone.
I think it's a native stone. But this is the only one I could find in Egypt. We went to this places where they make these things.
We saw some temples
Oh.
with them, yeah.
And we saw some in the temples, and that's why I said, okay, they're here. The temples are here.
Uh-huh.
But many of them, they've been, destroyed with physically destroyed.
Right.
So somebody doesn't want that message to get out. Way back when, or recently, I don't know. But I was very intrigued with that, and they're called Hathors, and that's part of the mythology, is that the Hathors were a group of beings in the earth. So I still don't know.
We'll hold that up again. Let's see that. That's pretty interesting.
Where am I?
Okay, yeah, up a little bit. Yeah, that's good.
And the
Yeah, look at the eyes.
Yeah.
Yep, and the ears. The ears.
Yeah, the ears
particularly
too. Interesting. And is this like a headdress or a hat or on the top?
No, that's it. Mostly you just see the head. This is a scarab. That's one of their signs.
Okay, that's a scarab.
Yeah, that's a scarab above it here. Sorry about moving it around.
Yeah, that's all right. That's good.
You can get a good view of that. So yeah, that is the Hathor. And I was looking for them in the temples and also in the artifacts, where they have, where you can buy little trinkets and stuff. And that's the only one I found. So they're not
prolific.
Plentiful, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Interesting.
How was your experience overall in Egypt while you're there?
It's very good, very interesting. Again, I was looking for certain information, certain things about the temples and what they were practicing. What the Egyptians and the different dynasties and the different groups.
So the reason why we kind of went to Egypt too, so the reason why Paul and I, we know that now, came together divinely guided, we wasn't our intent, but we knew we had to be together after all those synchronicities, is to balance the masculine and the feminine energies in ourselves, in our relationship, and in the world, because it's a little bit out of whack.
You think?
Well, we live with the old masculine and the old feminine, and the old masculine dominates, and the old feminine manipulates. And we know that there's huge things beyond that, where in the divine world, divine feminine, divine masculine work together to create beautiful things. Right. So that's what our path has been.
So a friend of mine in Belgium told me to read the book The Forbidden Female Speaks from Pamela Kribbe. And she's from the Netherlands, and her story she went very deep into psychosis, and she came out of it. And she got in contact with the original Mary Magdalene and Joshua energies, not the religious figures, but the ones that seeded the consciousness into the earth and helped bring in that consciousness. So Pamela started channeling Mary Magdalene, and she decided to put this in a book, The Forbidden Female Speaks. And I read the book, and I put my name in her website, and shortly after I get an email that she's going to do a retreat in Egypt about the Forbidden Female Speaks, where Mary Magdalene will channel, and then everybody can ask a personal question.
And she was on this cruise?
No.
Okay.
No, this is the things that synchronistically come into our life. So after Mexico, this shows up.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided to go to Egypt on the way to Belgium. So it's not
okay.
So it was like, well, we're going to Belgium. Let's just combine them. Let's go first to the retreat in Egypt and then fly to Belgium, be with my family that we haven't seen since 2016. So we went to Egypt, and when we arrived there, we could feel we were right. The hotel was right on the Nile. Even the swimming pool was a floaty on the Nile, and then the hotel.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
we
it
could
was beautiful,
feel
beautiful
this
place.
this powerful, feminine,
Nurturing,
this
loving energy.
this
Huh.
really palpable energy, and we were like, "What is this? Do you feel that? Yeah, what is this? Is this the Nile? The Nile we're feeling? You know?" But afterwards, doing the retreat, I know now it was the essence. I mean, the energy of Mary Magdalene,
The presence of her in the
the
area we
presence,
were doing.
yeah, that
Huh.
we and it was like I'm talking to you, Trish. You know, our relationship. You're there. I'm here.
Right,
We're
right.
talking. I have now a friendship relationship with that energy. There's
Huh.
nothing more or less between you and I or her and us. We're all in this together in this consciousness expansion deal.
And Rob's included too. We're the masculine side of this piece. Let's not leave that out, even though we've been bad.
Right.
We don't need to. We don't
Well,
need to
now-
throw out the whole masculine side.
Now, this isn't the religious concept of Mary Magdalene.
No,
No,
not at all.
not at all.
Not at
Well,
all.
what is this? What is it?
Well, as Pamela said, the reason why she's doing it in Egypt, because the original feminine power is very much still present in Egypt, because
Huh.
the Catholic Church, and I don't want to, bash
Uh-huh.
that, but the Roman Catholic Church has misused their powers to eliminate that true essence of the femininity.
I can believe that. Yeah.
But in Egypt, that essence is still there hanging. And that's where
Huh.
Pamela, because the Magdalene energy and the Jeshua energy, they were there in Egypt. They lived there.
Hmm.
And they kept that going there. So that's what Pamela is doing it there. So I am learning now, what does that mean? What is the true essence of that femininity? Not what the world's telling us what a
Right.
woman looks like, but what is that divine feminine, divine masculine, and how do we balance that in ourselves? And that's Paul and I's
That's our
work.
path.
That's
yeah.
our path. That's
Huh.
why we came together.
Interesting. Wow. Well, what's Pamela's last name? I want to look at this book.
Pamela Kribes, her last name is Kribbe, and she's in the Netherlands. So all her books are written in Dutch, and then she translates it.
Oh,
she
she
just
does. Okay.
came out this
Well,
week.
the one that Forbidden Female Speaks is in
Is
English.
in
It's been
English.
Oh, it's in
translated
English.
already.
Okay.
And she has now many in English. Now this week, I talked to her recently. This week she came out with the Forbidden Male Speaks.
Oh, interesting.
From the point of the masculine. And I asked her, is it in English? No, she says, I will have to translate it. So it's
But
out in Dutch.
It's just coming out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these can be found on Amazon.
Yeah, you found them on
Okay,
Amazon.
great. Wow.
All of them are so, in my intuitive feeling, so through the core of who I am and who we are as humanity. And it's so nurturing for me to
Huh.
be, yeah, I suggest everybody reading them.
Yeah, and me too. It's very, very powerful.
Mieke,
How much? Go ahead.
Mieke, I have to ask you another question from one of your stories in your book that I found really unusual. This was the story
A lot of them.
about your boss who actually vanished in front of you, not once, 3 times. Tell us about that. And I was wondering if other employees had similar experiences with this person, and who was this person?
Well, I was working for a store, and our store director left the previous one, so we were up for a new one. And we had 3 candidates, and the store that I was working for was actually promoting all the team members to help decide who they think should be the next, because we're all working together. It was a very, very positive way of doing things. So they encouraged us to talk. And one day, all 3 of them would come to the store, and we were encouraged to talk to them, ask our questions. How would they solve the problems for your department? Things like that. So of course I'm all into that, me feeling people, with my intuitive gifts. I'm interested in checking them out. So I run into the first candidate, and I start talking to him and had a question. I had a great great feeling about this guy. You know, he was real, he was connecting, he was just real in his being, real in his person. Yeah, I thought like, check. The first one, yep, that's a yes for me. And then I see the second one coming, and I'm like, okay, number 2.
Get ready.
So I go, yeah. So I go up to him and say, hey, you know, nice to meet you. Can I ask you some questions? And I'm like in the first 30 seconds of our interaction. So I talk to him, and in mid-sentence, he's gone.
God.
I'm standing there all by myself. And my mind goes like, you know, I'm trying to figure out, well,
Where'd he go?
you know, where did he go? And I'm
he
starting,
just disappeared?
he just disappeared. He vanished,
Huh.
right? In the first 30 seconds of our conversation, in a blink of an eye. It was like I was blinking my eye, and in that a third of a second, I don't know how fast you blink an eye, but I blink an eye and I open, and he's gone. And I'm standing there
weird.
like a fool. I'm just completely standing there like a fool. And my mind goes like, where did he go? So I look at the pole. No, he's not. He can't be behind that pole. I mean, I'm, you know, my detective mind goes like, okay, where did you go? You know, I got, you
vanished through the floor. I mean,
yeah. He couldn't walk away that fast. I mean, it was literally a blink of an eye and he was gone. Anyway, and he's gone. And I'm standing there for like half a minute or longer. I'm like, okay, I can't just stand here like a
he
fool.
didn't want the job, huh?
So, and I walk back to my department, but I'm on guard now. If you do things like that with me,
Yeah, really.
I'm on guard. So I'm looking around, didn't see him. So after, yeah, and the third person canceled. So there's only those 2.
Oh boy.
The third person canceled. So, and the whole day I'm just working. And after the end of the evening, I start asking my colleagues, did you see this guy? And many said, no, I didn't talk to him. And there's only one person.
But they saw him. They did see him.
Yeah.
I mean, he did, yeah.
So most people were not interested in even talking to this. I was very interested in talking to the candidates. So one person said, oh yeah, I talked to him. I said, what did you think about him? I wanted to get their feedback. Oh, I think he's nice. That was it. I'm thinking, nice, not with me.
He
Opposite
vanished.
of nice, right? So anyway, so then you start doubting your own mind, right?
Yeah.
Did I really see that? Did this happen? I'm trying to comprehend what happened. What happened? So anyway, I can't talk to other people because only one person said they talked to him, but he think they're nice. Well, that was off the table for me. So it happened twice more over the year.
He was.
Oh yeah,
he was selected.
Guess
he
who
was selected?
Yeah. So guess who?
By who? Who selected him?
Well, you tell me. I mean, there's manipulation going on. You know, if you can, if this is my own personal opinion now and judgment. If you can disappear on people, you can manipulate another level.
Yeah, right. That's true.
If you're working interdimensional realities like that, you know how to handle this 3D world and get where you want to be, right? That's my judgment, okay? That's my personal thing. So anyway, so he got elected. I was very disappointed, frustrated, and more on guard now because now I had to work with this guy.
God.
And my bullshit detector, you know, my gut feeling, I didn't want to be around him. The energy.
Did you ever ask him how he did that? Did you ever ask?
No, I was very on guard.
Wow.
I knew if he can do that to me, he knows who I am, right? I was just on guard. Every time I deal with him, I had this nausea feeling.
Oh,
I did not. There was nothing normal, kind, human to this personality. Okay.
And I took her to work and was at her store many times, and I would see this guy. I could never connect to him, Trish, Rob. I'd like, hey, he would not. He would not engage.
He wouldn't acknowledge you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't acknowledge me or engage.
Right.
But then Mieke and I start sharing. I said, what's wrong with your store director?
So anyway, you start doubting your mind because and I then let it go. I was always on guard going to work. Never had a good feeling about this guy. So then one day it happened again. So I'm making copies upstairs where all the offices are, and the store director's office was right on the other side of the copy machine. So I'm making copies, and I feel him coming out of his office, and he comes on the side, the left side of the copy machine where I was making my copy, and I look at him and I acknowledge him. I say hi, and in that acknowledgement, while I say hi to him, tap, gone again.
Jeez.
Now you can fool me once. You can fool me twice, but now I was like, okay, that was a confirmation that, okay, first time really happened, because the second time,
Yeah.
it was a confirmation.
Nobody else was in the copy room? Just you?
It was not a copy room. It was just an open space.
Oh, okay.
And all the other offices were open there. So I was like, okay, check, validation. First time happened. All in this 1 second, right? Okay, like the first time I'm standing there like a fool. Not now. I'm immediately checking. Go to his office. Go to all the offices. I'm just taking action, right? I go to the stairs. I check all my possible places where he could have gone in that moment. I take action. Nothing to be seen. I'm like, okay, at least I was validated, right? I'm not nuts. I'm not crazy. It happened again.
Yeah.
And then it happened the third time again. It was not in direct contact with each other, face to face or in communication.
On the store floor.
I was on the floor. I was helping another department, stocking their department. He passes, and while he passes, I felt and noticed him. And as he passes, in that passing in the aisle, boom, he disappeared again. I'm like, okay, I know who I'm dealing with. Right.
What were you dealing with? Is he an interdimensional being or what?
Well.
Good question.
Then
Trish,
I wrote that part in the book too. I had my boss at that time, so he was the director, but my direct boss had some negative experiences just in personal things going on too.
The feedback.
Yeah, but at a certain moment, I'm in my department, and in the other department, next to my department, there is my boss plus 2 other team members, and it was just after the lunch rush. We're talking about food sector here, food service. So everybody had their food around noon. It's like 2 or 3 o'clock or something, where it's a little low dip. So he comes in. So I'm on the side in my department, not in the main department, and I'm just observing. He comes in, and he puts a picture under the nose of my boss, who's the manager of the department. And she starts freaking out and says, "Oh my God!" She goes in this reaction of disgust. And I'm just standing there. I know who I'm dealing with, I'm interdimensional, whatever. So I'm just observing. I don't give a kick. I'm just standing there solidly grounded in myself, observing. And he goes to the other person, put that same picture into the other person. Same response, freaking out. How are you doing that? La, 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 la. And he gets this smile and this grin on his face. He was enjoying the reaction. He was feeding on their fear. Okay, that's what my opinion is right now. He was feeding on that, and he walks out and then he takes off. And I keep my ground, and then I ask my boss what was on the picture. Just very calm.
Yeah, really.
I'm not interested in playing that game with him, right? And they say, I don't know, it's a cutting up limbs, some horrible body parts cutting up something. And that was again confirmation for me. Okay, I'm not dealing here with a normal human being who's heart-centered.
Or a nice person.
Or a nice person.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, so that's
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have quit.
Well, no, I'm learning to hold my own ground. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. It was very uncomfortable. We moved away at a certain moment. It was clear for several reasons. The area we were living in, we were done there. The job, I was ready to move away from that energy, and we did move. Then we moved to California, and then we met Travis Walton and that whole thing.
Wow.
So what are you two doing now? Are you living in an RV, did you say, in South Dakota?
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
So we've been traveling since 2017 in an RV. That's another long story, but at this moment we are here in South Dakota in an RV resort where our RV stays here. When we come here in the summer, if we want to, they pull it to the side and it's very comfortable. And we recently decided we're going to spend a year in Florida starting in October. So that's
Did you find which is it the Tampa area?
It's the Tampa area, yeah. So we're gonna rent a place there for a year to kind of figure, feeling
Try
it out.
Sarasota. I think Sarasota might suit you guys better, don't you think,
Well,
Rob?
we were the last 2 winters in Bradenton, which is close to Sarasota.
And we really like that. I mean,
yeah, but we're following our guidance, and our guidance brought us to where we are now. So.
Oh, to Bradenton.
Well, no, close to the Tampa area.
Closer to Tampa. But does your guidance know about Sarasota?
Yep.
Okay. I always have to say, okay, does the guidance know?
It's, we're kind of following what feels right and what comes easy. If we decide on something and we feel friction or the communication doesn't happen, then we say, okay, it's time to let it be.
Let it go. It's not meant to be. If it's a lot of roadblocks, we don't.
Yeah,
right.
We say
well, let us know when you get there because we can drive across the state in a couple hours and go have lunch with you guys.
Yeah,
I would like that. That would be great.
That would be fantastic.
Are you going to write another book or working on another one at this time, Mieke?
Yes, I kind of have already one. I started writing my episode every 2 weeks, my life story from my birth with all these abnormal everything happened, and I have about 56 or 65 episodes written, chapters written, episodes written. So I need to edit that. And that will be like 3 different books. But I'm also getting a lot of information about the masculine, feminine that we are.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
I kind of get the feeling I need to start with that one. Then I do want to translate the book we just put out in Dutch.
That you and Paul put out a book in Dutch?
Yeah. Many people, we went to Belgium, many people there bought the book and they're asking, is it coming out in Dutch? So most people read and write, do English, but many are asking for the Dutch version. Okay. So yes, the answer is yes. I'm not so sure yet. The next one, and most likely it will be the masculine, feminine experiences we have.
I just have one more question. We're coming to the end of the hour here. One that we missed.
Are you kidding? We need 2 hours with them.
Tell us about the experience you had at age 11 while you're riding your bike.
Yeah. Yeah. So my grandparents started a bookstore even before my dad was born, and then my parents took over the bookstore. I mean, mostly my mom, because my dad was almost blind. My mom was the one who did the business and drove the car. My mom was kind of more the masculine action force in the household, and my dad was taking care of the kids. So we had the bookstore, and then we have a home about 3 miles away in the countryside.
No, less than that, less than 3 miles.
Yeah. And so with the bike, we drive to the store and home. I like that freedom I had just to go wherever I wanted to go between the 2 stays. So one day I was driving from my house to the bookstore, and I had to cross a big crossroads, 4 lanes, coming 2 lanes that way and 2 lanes that, and then again across. And at that time, that was 1981, there was no lights. You had to stop with your bike, go halfway, stop, and then, as you feel is safe. So that's what I did. I crossed halfway, stopped, and I saw in the distance coming a red car, but it was way out there. And in my 11-year-old mind, I didn't know it was a sports car, and I didn't know it was going full speed. So in my 11-year-old logic, well, there's a car far enough, I'm just going to go and do the next leg. So I jump on my bike and I drive over. Now, I did not know that it was going there so fast. So all of a sudden, the brakes, I was driving, I wasn't even paying attention to the car anymore. I was looking in front of me. At a certain moment, the brakes of my bike engaged by themselves. So my bike stops abruptly. I almost flew over my handlebars. And about an inch in front of my bike, I see a red blur going, wing.
Oh, boy.
And I knew it was that car because I've seen the red in
Yeah.
distance, but just an inch. So the brakes go by itself. My bike stops. This car goes wing in front of me. And at that moment, with my 11-year-old logic, I said, okay, I got it. I wasn't supposed to be dead yet because I should have been. And then I'm thinking, I wonder what in my future I have to do that I'm saved right now of being dead. That was my thinking.
Yeah, I can see why.
I knew there was something out there in the future that was so important. I was like, what's so important that I'm saved right now? Because it wasn't my doing. I was supposed to be dead.
Well,
Anyway.
you had to meet Paul. That for
That's
sure.
one.
That
That's
was way
part
in
of
the
it.
future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and many other reasons, to start sharing
Yeah.
our stories. I mean, there's raising the kids. I mean, there's so
Right.
many reasons. But then a week later, it was fascinating. In that same street, but over another bridge, same street further, I'm again on my little bike, and I see there a car parked, and I see blood on the road. So there was an
Wow.
accident, and in the front shield of that window, the cracked window, was a chunk of long blonde hair, which I
Oh.
had at the time too. And it was a reminder of what just happened the week before, and I was thinking that could have been me, or that should have been
Yeah.
me. This girl or woman was not as lucky as I was. That was my thinking 1 week later when I saw that accident there in front of me.
Who was this driver? Did they ever get him?
No, oh no, no. I mean, there's no witness. I just the bike stopped. I realized I was supposed to be dead. I wasn't, and I just drove to the store.
The brakes worked.
Yeah, and I said like,
Yeah.
oh, is there something wrong with my bike, right? And
Hmm.
my logic wants to
Yeah.
figure out what happened, and no, my brakes were normal again. I just jumped on my bike and kept going. Something intervened. Something stopped me
Right.
from being hit by that car.
It's
My life. Yeah, I have. I don't know, but this is the book, right?
Yeah.
My life is a mystery. It's like two people dancing in the galaxy. That's one of our synchronicities. Also, that's written in the book. That's why that picture is on there. And
Just real quick, everything froze on me for about 30 seconds. So
okay.
we got to the end of the backstory, and then next thing I saw was Mieke holding up the book. So if we want to,
So the
Okay.
end of the bike story.
Right. So
yes.
this is
how to get a hold of the book. Yeah, there it is.
yeah. So on the front of the book is the galaxy. My life is a mystery. The galaxy and two people, a male and a female, dancing, because that's one of the synchronicities that we had. Paul's experience, where he saw a galaxy in my eyes when we did the male female experience, and that's why I put that picture on.
Huh.
I saw this, from across the room. I saw Mieke, who I barely
Yeah, I
knew.
like that description in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
So
I
yes,
see that, and it's like, okay, I got to pay attention, but I wasn't looking for anything, so I didn't tell her.
Yeah.
I don't know when I finally told her that, what?
right. So I do have a website. I have actually never put it out in public. Well, I will do
Oh,
right
come
now.
on, you guys. You got to make all this public. And with your travels too. I mean, you could have a travel website that would be fascinating. I mean, your experiences alone in Egypt.
Right.
No.
So anyway, so in 2000, I did a HTML class to make my own HTML website, and that's what I'm using. Okay. So I made a little HTML basic website, and the URL is www.angelfire.com/music/light1.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
WordPress is easier.
Well, I will need somebody who can help me, because I want to spend my time writing and not yeah. So anyway, I did that. It gives a little synopsis of who we are. All the episodes, the titles of the episodes of the other things that I wrote are on there.
Are they episodes? Or just the titles?
It's just the titles, and I also share there what I'm helping people with. So my joy, let's put it that way. My
Uh-huh.
joy is to assist people. I'm not I'm not saying I'm a healer, I'm a counselor. No, I'm not. I just assist people to finding their own truth and
Right.
be who they are and find your own joy in yourself. So, and I do that just with talking to people on the road. We little support here and there. So
Yeah.
that's what I
cool.
like to do.
So I got Angel Fire. What did you say after Angel Fire?
Angelfire.com/music/light1. And
Number
there
one,
there you
number
can
one.
see,
WordPress.
yeah,
Music dot what?
music/light light and then number one.
The
Just
number.
light
Okay,
one.
light one. Okay. God.
Okay, thank you.
WordPress.
We talked to you.
Well,
I looked into WordPress before and it was like, oh, that's a little bit of a curve to
learning
learn.
curve, yeah.
I don't know.
No, it really is. Hey, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm not
Okay.
a computer person, so
Okay.
start there.
Our golden retriever Nigel is up, and he always knows the end of the podcast because he lays underneath my desk until right at the end, and now he's
ready to go to the dog park.
Oh, there it is.
Excellent.
That's our other leaders,
Yeah.
our dogs.
Yep,
and,
it's so true.
Yeah.
Nigel, show yourself. There he is.
Oh, look at that. The golden retrievers are my favorite breed. I had
They
one.
are great. He's our third. He's a
And
wonderful dog.
in the book too, there's a whole section about our animals and animal communication. It's one of my heart-based activities.
Both of us, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Great talking
he's
to
a
both of
sweetheart.
you.
Yeah, this was so
Thanks,
much fun,
Rob.
you guys. And please
Appreciate
let us
that.
know when you move,
Yeah,
Yeah,
let
thanks, Trish.
because we definitely want to
should be-
come over and have lunch and hang
Yeah,
out.
first part of October, we'll be moving in, getting settled, and,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
we'll be available.
Yeah.
All
Good.
right. Excellent.
Okay,
Well, thank you again. This has been wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thanks
was
for
fun.
reaching out, and then thanks for actually putting together the implements necessary to do the webcast.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I knew when I met you two on the cruise, I thought, okay, we're having them on the podcast. It's that feeling.
That's the
It never
feeling.
fails.
That's right.
Yep. It really
Well, thank you
does.
so much.
Well,
Very
thank
nice
you
to
guys.
meet you. Get a chance to talk with you.
Bye
Just great.
bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care, you all.
Will do. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.